to him in a while, the one and only Ryan Pepiot. Pep, what's going on, brother? How are you?
What up? What up, Jay? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. First off, how was the holiday?
Holiday was good. How about yourself?
Pretty good, man. Went up to New York. The weather was cold when we got there. I think the second day was like 9 degrees, and then it got up to 50. And I was thinking about playing some golf, but it was like, all right, let's get back to Florida. Time to get back to Florida.
I get it.
We did. You were traveling, right?
We went to West Palm Beach. So not a fun drive, kind of boring across the middle of Florida. Never done that. So, but it was fun. It's beautiful down there. We had a great time.
What's your off season been like as far as travel goes?
A lot of travel. Had a few weddings. Couple back in Indianapolis, where I'm from, and then had one in Scottsdale, Arizona. Then went to LA for Justin Turner's golf tournament.
Nice.
So Johnny was out there with us, DeLuca, so that was fun. And then from there, went 3 weeks in Sydney, Australia.
Whoa, 3 weeks, huh?
Yeah, my wife's her uncle lives in Sydney, so we stayed with them. Had pretty good setup working out and stuff like that, but then got to do plenty of sightseeing and spent some time at the beach.
Yeah, excuse me. People think that's a trip to make once in a lifetime.
Yep.
When you say 3 weeks, you're like, all right, we just got to go for a while, right? You can't go for a couple of days. So you're like, all right, let's make a real trip out of it.
No, you have to make a trip out of it because we flew from LA and it was 16 hours from LA.
Whew.
So when you take that long of a flight, like a week doesn't really do it because then you might get jet lagged on the way there, so maybe down for the count for a day or two, but we were actually fine. Honestly, the way we flew was like at night, leaving LA at like 8 o'clock at night, and then got into Sydney at 8 o'clock, like a day or two later, because it's like 16 or 17 hours ahead from there. So getting in late at night was perfect because then I could just like basically go right to bed and kind of get right on their time schedule.
I love that. Tell me about the Justin Turner golf tournament. Big names?
Yeah, there's some big names. I was the chauffeur for Corey Seager.
Nice.
So me and him were in the car together. Nick Punto and Justin Turner that was my foursome. Then you had Johnny DeLuca, Pete Crow Armstrong, Jaron Duran, Cal Raleigh. I'm trying to think who else was there. Jerry Harrison Jr. Let's see, Eric Karros. There was a bunch of people. Hamilton Porter.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm talking like I was like, oh my gosh, that's Ham Porter. That's Ham Porter. Right?
The great Hambino.
Yeah, the Hambino is there, striping some golf balls and just making everybody laugh. So it was a great event. It's fun. I've been doing it for the past couple of years, and it was a lot of fun.
It was funny to hear like Turner because you mentioned those guys, and I'm like, well, he played Dodgers, Red Sox, Mariners. Like, that's one thing. Like,
it's like it's like evolved, I've gone to like the last 3 years, and so just evolved. It was like mostly just former Dodgers players, and then I was like, I get there, and I'm like, I'm on the driving range. I'm like, oh, that's Duran, and there's Pete Armstrong because he lives down the street. And then JT texted me a couple of days before, and he's like, hey, do you think DeLuca would want to play? And I was like, Johnny, see you in Sherman Oaks in your hometown in 2 days. So yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That's great, man. And as far as like, what kind of throwing do you do in the off season? Are you a guy that is doing any type of long toss? Like, what's your time frame of when the season ends, the last time you pick up to a ball, till the first time you pick up a ball, and then the next step going back when you guys report?
Yeah, so I take about 10 days to 2 weeks off, no throw. And then I pick it right back up. But just super, super easy, 60, 90 feet, 3 times a week for first couple weeks, then kind of 90, 100, 100, 120. Started getting the long toss towards the beginning, mid-January or December. And then bullpens, I'll throw off the mound, first one Thursday.
Is there an excitement level to that? Like you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to get back on the bump.
Yeah, there is some excitement to it because the beginning throws is you just go from throwing 100+ innings in a full season, and you're like, my arm feels awesome. And then you take a little bit of time off. I'm one that doesn't take a whole lot of time off. I know some guys take a full month, some take 2. For me, it's always been short amount of time because of all the scar tissue and the stuff you build up throughout the season. I don't really want that all to go away. So taking off 10 to 2 weeks is like the perfect range for me where I can get back into it. And if you take too much time off, for me, the first week or two of throwing is like throwing with nails in your shoulder.
Oh, that's not good.
So I mean, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you kind of just got to get over that hump. So for me, being able to start earlier just allows the process to just be smooth and just slowly build up and ramp up. So I don't have to take 2 months off and then just grind it out for 2 months until we start throwing hitters.
Who do you throw with in the off season now that you,
this off season been with Pete and Kevin Kelly.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
When you throw with Kevin Kelly, when you're warming up with him, do you have to pay extra attention because he throws the ball like that?
He starts out over the top. And then,
okay.
So then like it slowly starts like dripping down a little bit. But Kevin, I'm gonna tell you, he rips it from the get go. Like the first couple weeks, I'm just like.
Do you like that? Do you like guys that like? So when I grew up playing, because I played from 5 to 18, right? I hated guys that were throwing hard right off the rip. And maybe that was just my personality. I was always the guy that was like throwing like knuckleballs in the air. I was trying to mess around, like catching the ball behind my back. That's just my personality. But I played second, and my shortstop, Ryan, we never warmed up together because right off the rip, he's trying to throw beams. We're on a knee throwing freaking lasers. I'm like, bro, chill out, dude. I'm not trying to throw like that. Are you a guy does that bother you? Are you a guy that throws like that? Because I know you've seen guys like that where certain guys are just chill, and then other guys, they just every single throw, they want to be Nolan Ryan.
I've thrown with a bunch of different people like over the course of my career. And I will say, like, if somebody throws it from the rip, like first, second throw, just letting it eat right at me when I'm 45 feet away, I'm like, all right, I don't really want to play catch with you again.
Exactly.
But if you're gonna slowly build it back up and then on the way back in start ripping it, perfectly fine. I'm all for it. The only thing I'm not all for is when Kevin drops down and throws a sinker because it's coming right at my thumb. But I've gotten good at it. I'm moving, turning the body, and I'm thinking about like I got a catcher's glove. But I haven't really been using it because it kind of really gets the thumb in there. So I'm thinking I might, after this year, I think I might get a first baseman's glove because I think that's going to be like the perfect hybrid in between.
Yeah.
I'll have to keep good eyes on that because you never know. Yandy might want to use it.
Yeah, you got that right, man. It's been so crazy with the off season, right? With from your perspective, I mean, we've had so many different people, whether it was Mark Talkin or Colleen Wright of the Tampa Bay Times, and had Chris Laval on from the County Commission, and just from your perspective, I mean, what's it like being a player, knowing that kind of the future of the stadium is kind of up in the air, and knowing that you're going to be playing at least for this year, in Tampa in the Yankees complex at Steinbrenner Field.
I did just buy my first place. My wife and I just bought our first place right in downtown St. Pete. So my commute went from 5 minutes to 30 minutes.
Oh my God. I was wondering about guys like that. There was like, man, I got it all worked out good. Because I remember having this conversation with Kevin Kiermaier years ago. He's like, I was thinking about moving to St. Pete, but I like living here on the Tampa side. I'm like, if you don't care about the drive, bro, you're fine. Yeah. But I was wondering about that. I was like, man, what guys, whether you just bought a place or you're thinking like, I love my place in St. Pete. It's so close to the park. And now you got a 30-minute drive every day.
Yep.
It sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, most of the time, places like stadiums, not necessarily in like residential areas. So most other cities, you're probably living 20, 30 minutes outside of the stadium anyway. True. So it's no different. For me, I think it's going to be fine. I would only say maybe like the getaway games in the middle of the week might be tough, like in the morning traffic wise. But the bad one's going to be my wife going to games in the afternoon. She's going to have to leave at like 5 o'clock because we go to a lot of Lightning games and it takes like an hour and 40. So, but it's first season, we can do it, like, it'll be fine. We'll make the best of it. And, I try not to think too much about the whole stadium, what's going to happen with the new one, what's going to happen with the Trop, what's going to be, I mean, we know what's happening this year, and that's really all I can focus on and all we can really focus on. Because if you start thinking about too much, then you just go down a rabbit hole, and that's not going to be good for anyone's mental stability. But, it is what it is. And I'm just happy that, we do know where we're playing, schedule's out, and there's been some tweaks to it. The middle of August, the long four city road trip may not be the most fun, but, we got to do what we have to do. I'd rather have that than sit around at a home game and maybe have to deal with the 2-hour rain delay, start a game at 11 o'clock or something like that with a 11:30, 12 o'clock game the next day, So it's going to be interesting, but just try to make the most of it.
What's the biggest adjustment that you make going from controlled indoor facility, yeah, and I know, of course, you play away games outside, but as far as your everyday preparation, when you're starting every fifth day outside, is there a big thing that you got to change with that, or is it just kind of, hey, it would just be the same as if we were on the road?
I think it's just going to be the same as if it was on the road. I think the only real big difference is at the Trop, you knew what you were getting every single day,
Right.
and you know you're going to get whatever it's 70 degrees and no humidity, no whatever, no wind, no nothing, no sunballs, no nothing like that. Now it's, you know, one day it could be 95 and super humid, or the next day it could be 75, and and maybe a little drizzle. You never know. I think preparation wise, it's just going to be kind of looking ahead, maybe looking at the weather, saying, okay, like here's how it's going to be. Maybe tone back the running a little bit if it's going to be a hot week or something like that, or maybe it's I think the only good thing too is being outside all year when we do go on the road and we go to some hotter spots where, you know, you don't just go play for 10 games inside where you don't see the sun, where you're just in a controlled environment the entire time. Then you go play a hot game outside and get a little winded faster. So I think being outside will help for the road games.
I look at a lot of different things on whether it's social media. I'm a big fan of like lists and seeing like where people rank. And I saw this rotation list. I don't know if it was ESPN or somebody put it out, and you guys weren't even in the top 10 rotations. And I'm just like, how, if Shane's coming back and you're getting all these guys healthy on board, how this doesn't compute to a top 10 rotation is just wild to me. Do you guys read stuff like that? And what do you think the ceiling is for the rotation this year? Because I think, you know, if you guys go into the season and you have, you know, 5-6 guys there that can, you know, take the ball every fifth day and possibly throw a freaking no-hitter like we had a couple of years ago, I think the sky's the limit for this rotation.
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit for this rotation as well. I mean, it's really good to have Mac back. I'm excited because I've only been able to see him pitch on TV or watch him throw a bullpen where he's throwing 96, 97, and I'm out there just trying to grasp for 90 in my midweek side. And then you get Ras coming back as a full starter, which I'm really excited to see. And obviously you got Taj and Boz and Littell who can obviously proven that they can do it and have electric stuff, and it's a lot of fun. So, and just being a part of that crew, it's fun going to the park every day on the times I do pitch, but it makes it even more fun to show up the days I'm not, because I'm going out there and going to watch somebody go out there and dominate. As for looking at the lists, for me personally, I don't care. I mean, if I see them, I see them, but they're just lists. You know, it's fine. Prove people wrong.
That's right. I like that. And you know, it's funny too. You mentioned that about the camaraderie with the pitching staff. We've seen it for years with the Rays, and going back to like the James Shields days, and you know, Price and Archer. And I asked Blake Snell about this years ago, and it's a different vibe, right? It's not like that everywhere. It isn't. And it's not like that with every position group. The Bucs offensive line's got like a tight knit group about them. They do things every year during the holidays. And there's just something about the Rays starting pitchers. And I remember Alex Cobb years ago, he was throwing a simulated game because he was coming back from Tommy John, and there was just so many people watching him. And we were just able, as the media, just kind of like sitting back there watching him throw to, I think it was like Wilson Ramos or something like that. And it was just, that doesn't happen everywhere. Guys are doing their own thing or chilling, or they're not in the building at all. What is it about that Rays pitching staff, the starters, and I don't want to exclude the bullpen guys, but just about the starters in particular, where it just seems like there's just an unspoken bond that has transcended over a couple of decades now?
I don't know. It's been fantastic to be a part of that. Just from day one for me getting there last year, and everyone was just bringing me right in, making me feel welcome. And it was, somebody's got a live BP. Okay, what time does this person throw? If it's spring training, or if it's somebody rehabbing, or Max throwing a live, or when Rass and Springs were coming back, like, watch them when they're throwing their simulated games. It's like, okay, they're throwing at 2:00. All right, let me get all my stuff done right before 2, pause everything, run out there, watch them throw, cheer them on, and then come back and finish what I have. It's fun. You know, you get to go out and watch, and the guys are fantastic, and everyone pitches pretty differently. You know, you got Rass, who's going to kind of throw a cut fastball at 98 plus with a sinker, with a sweeper, curveball. He's got the whole arsenal. And then you have Taj, who's just out there ripping 98 with a 93-mile-an-hour cutter slider with a splitter, and then Littell's out there painting the edges. And then you got Boz is out there ripping curveballs, and then Mac obviously doing Mac things. It's just, you have all these different guys and different ways they go about pitching, and we're all rather young and still kind of like figuring ourselves out and in this game, in this league, and taking little small tidbits from each guy and emulating into our game just goes a long way, because you can bounce ideas off of somebody, seeing somebody who's done it, somebody who does something well that I want to work on or add that to my game, or somebody asks me, hey, how do you throw this, or how do you hold this, or what's your thought process when you get in this certain situation, and just bouncing ideas off each other. And if you look at any game, home game, road game, just look on the bench and you see all 4 of us starters just always sitting on the bench together, probably throwing sunflower seeds at Taj, and then just shooting the crap a little bit and just having fun, but then also out there watching the game and cheering our guy on out there.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's a joy to watch, and you can tell, like, every single time they pan to the dugout and they see you guys having a good time. But there's obviously baseball talk going on as well. And I know you guys, as much as your players, your fans too. And I know one of the big stories in all of sports over the last couple of months was the decision for Juan Soto. Where is he going to go? Is he going to stay with the Yankees? Is he going to go to the Mets? And then you see how much he went for. It's just pretty wild to be able to see that number on a contract. What did you make of the whole Juan Soto thing, of him leaving the Bronx? Did that surprise you? And, what does it mean for the Mets, getting such a big player like that?
I mean, I think he's making, $125 million this year alone, because he's getting, 51 a year and got a $75 million signing bonus or something like that. I'm like, it's a lot of ways you could spend $125 million right there. Maybe around 65, 70 after some New York taxes come out of that. But
yeah, right.
Still, that's a pretty good chunk of change for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I saw somebody was breaking it down. It was like $8,000 a minute or something like that. I'm like, dude, what in the world?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wasn't really 100% sure where he was going to go. I kind of figured it was going to be either a New York spot. Like going into it, I was like, I think obviously Steve Cohen is known to go out and spend money on players, and been really good to families and people. Obviously, I know some people who have played there, and they're like, he's been fantastic. So not surprised that they went all in on it. And I think the Yankees were right behind, I would say, probably. So, I mean, he did amazing things for the Yankees this year and was a really force in that lineup. And then going to the Mets, who were arguably one of the hottest teams in baseball going into the second half and into the playoffs. So just adding that to that lineup, it makes it even more of dynamic. I'm just happy he's out of the division, honestly. I mean, I get traded to Tampa, and I'm like, sweet, he's still in the NL West, and he gets traded to New York, and I'm like, well, I got to face him more times. And now we only play him 3 games a year, so perfect. May line up and I have to face him because he's clipped me before, and it goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing with all these different things with the hitting, and everybody's like doing all these things, and he still has one of the flatter bat paths, right? I mean, it's just everybody's like, it's all launch angle, and he's just worrying about level swing, backspin. Though some of the balls that he hits are so high, you don't see guys hit home runs that high like he hits them. It's incredible because nobody hits. I think he's the best at bat in all of baseball. And then the Yankees,
I kind of agree with that. It's also to the point where I don't know how much it gets talked about, where just the at bats he takes in the plate discipline that he has. For somebody that's that good of a hitter, you're going to get the guy's best every single time. And you're not going to get cookie meatballs down the middle of the plate. You're going to try to have to do damage on stuff that's tried to be on the corners and on the edges. And maybe somebody trying to do something different, maybe try to backdoor a breaking ball you don't necessarily do, or front hip a two-seam or something like that. And he's just out there shuffling and doing his thing. And honestly, when you're on the mound, you don't really see it. But I mean, it's a tough at bat because you can't throw balls to him because he'll take his walks.
Yeah.
And, I mean, what he's got, like a 450 on base percentage or something like that, which is nuts. And then you go out there and he hits the slug and the average as well. And you see that in the lineup, and you just like, don't let him beat you. Let him take a single, let him take his walk, whatever. And just as long as you don't give up a long ball.
Yeah. It's funny. I saw somebody in New York radio 6 months ago say it's a bad thing that Juan Soto takes so many walks. I was like, that could have been the worst, stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, yeah, taking walks in front of Aaron Judge is a bad idea. It's just like, that's all right, whatever, you say what you got to say. Who are let's have a little fun. Who are the top 5 most difficult at bats in the MLB? You could either speak from experience or from, because I think Soto's got to be in the list, right? He's got to be.
Soto's in the list. He's just tough at bat. Let's see who else is a tough at bat. Arise. The dude just fouls anything off, and then he's not looking to do damage. So I'm not worried about giving up a long ball to him, even though I have before. But I'll give you a little backstory. The first time I faced him was when it was Minnesota, and literally the second pitch of the game, he took a double off of the wall on a heater, and I was like, okay, I'll try to get him on a slider this time. 2-run homer, and then I was like, well, but I haven't thrown him a changeup yet. Flicks it for a single. I'm like, well, I just can't get this guy out. I think he started this career off of me 6 for 6, and I'm like, how do I get this guy out? And then I faced him twice in one season, and I got him out one time, and he was popped it up and got around second base, and I was like, I finally got you out. So he's a tough one. Judge is a tough one too, because he doesn't really chase a whole lot, and he's huge. You try to get the ball to the top of the zone to that guy on the heater, because he destroys fastballs. And if you're going to throw him a fastball, you got to get it up there. And you feel like you're throwing it up an elevator shaft, because you got to get it all the way up there. Let's see who else is a tough at bat. Tatis is a tough one, just because you hang any breaking ball or spin, he's just going to destroy it. And then I've even tried to throw fastballs up and in, and he just still smokes them. Just try to set some other things up, and that's a tough one. What is that, 4?
Yeah, one more.
One more. See, there's a lot of ways I could go with this one. Let's see.
It's good because you got power guys, you got contact guys in there. Rice is good because I watched some of the drills that he does in the batting cage. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's not even real.
No, it doesn't even look. And hitting the knob on the ball, I'm like, okay, whatever you.
I've seen guys do that, but I've also seen guys do half swings, and I was never a big guy that thought that you got much from seeing the ball behind you. People take a front, not a front toss, but a back toss, and they'll toss the ball forward and they'll try to hit it. And I was like, the ball's never coming from that direction. So I didn't, but he's doing stuff like that. And then he's cutting down his swing in segments where he's just the wrist flick at the end, doing the stuff on that. It's oh man.
All right. Then I got a tie for 5 and 6.
Okay.
Seager's a tough one. Because of how aggressive he is at the start of the at-bat. Mm-hmm. And then if you throw him thing multiple times, it's going to get crushed. And then the other tie would be Freddie Freeman. Just throwing up against live at-bats against him in spring training and stuff. Pitchers try to set hitters up, but that guy will set you up as a hitter. And it's kind of nuts. He'll be hunting one hole. He talked about when he hit that home run off Nestor Cortez, he's I was looking in this exact spot and I got it, and obviously did what he did with that grand slam. But it's he's looking in one spot, he sees one thing, he's okay, I know you just did this. This is what you're going to have to come to get back to it, and then just smokes it.
It's amazing. There's guys that are they're playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. They think there's guys that go up there and just swing.
Yep.
And they're playing a complete. I think that's one thing for baseball that is different than any other sport. Whether you're talking about pitcher versus hitter, which I think has stuff there, whether you're talking about pitcher holding on base runners, there's so many games within the game that you have to be a master of.
Yep.
And if you are a master of, you can be an all-time great. You said, eliminating pitches. And there's this big thing with Greg Maddux about, I'm going to get this guy to pop up here or something like that. He was able to set guys up by what he did 6 months before, man, I was throwing 2 seams all day on the outer half, knowing that this guy was definitely going after that. He was I'm just throwing them all, I'm throwing all curveballs now.
Yep.
It's pretty wild. How deep do you go with that? Because I do think that if you're not comfortable with that, you could end up doing more damage than good. And you're oh yeah, I tried to elevate a fastball, and then I grooved one.
Yeah. I think for me, the game planning and all that stuff, I do a pretty decent dive, but I don't go too crazy. The crazier I go means I'm starting to honey hole little spots, and you're not going to hit your exact, if I'm trying to throw a heater down away just on the corner, I'm not giving myself any room for error. So if I pull it a little bit ball, if I leave it over the middle of the plate, it's over the middle of the plate. So I'm trying to split the plate early in the count. I'm trying to split the plate in halves. And then when I get ahead of guys, then I'll split it in thirds. But for me, and I'll think about, okay, this guy, I went slider first pitch, first 2 at bats. I probably shouldn't do that the third at bat, or I went heater changeup to somebody. Well, I got to flip that or maybe double up on something. But also I do dive into what guys do. If somebody's a guy I shouldn't double up against, some guy does hit spin better. You know, if I'm going to throw him spin, it's got to be a plus spin or strike to ball kind of a spin, not leave it in the zone. Or if a guy hammers heaters, I should set it up with maybe a changeup early, so then, you know, it's speed him up a little bit. And then you think about when you face a guy a game before, okay, go back and rewatch that game. What did I do to every single guy? And then, okay, the game plan may be similar, but I shouldn't necessarily go heater, changeup, slider to the same guy just because I did that a few games ago. Or sometimes you get the same team 2 starts in a row with how the schedule works out. And it's like, okay, they just saw me and I did well the first time. Well, the second time makes it even that much harder because they just saw you for 3 times through the lineup 10 days ago, and they know what you're going to do. They know what you're throwing. So you kind of have to like adjust it, but then you also can't go too far because you adjust it too far, then you're taking away from my strengths. So I'm always trying to pitch to my strengths rather than pitching to hitter's weakness. Because if somebody's like a hitter goes up, I look at the lineup and it's a hitter and he's like stinks at hitting curveballs. Well, for me, a curveball is my 5th pitch. And I'm not going to go out there and rip a bunch of curveballs at somebody. Yes, I'll throw you one. But I'm not going to go live and die by the curveball to somebody just because they're not good at it. I'm going to pitch. He may be the best at hitting fastballs, but I'm still going to throw him a fastball. It's just be a little bit more fine tuned with where I'm throwing it.
Have you always been like that, or has that changed over time? Like, how much of the influence of Kyle Snyder has helped that?
That has helped a lot. When I first got into pro baseball, the Dodgers had in the minor leagues had us doing like a very, very extensive deep dive, and especially my first year because I only went like 2-3 innings for my first starts because I threw so many innings in college. And so they're like, hey, we want you to just get used to doing this, taking a deep dive. And then I was getting like, okay, this guy's green zones are all this part of the plate, but he's got a red in the top corner, red in the top corner here, and then a red in this bottom corner. So I'm only going to throw in these bottom corners. Well, then you're eliminating the whole rest of the plate, and you're not thinking about the fact that a guy that's going to make it in the Hall of Fame only gets a hit 3 out of 10 times. So I'm going to play my odds there. And that's kind of where I realized shortly after doing that, I was like, I'm walking too many people because I'm trying to throw it in this little tiny hole, and I'm not going to always hit that. So I had to kind of scratch that, take it a little step back, still do some, but not too extreme to that level. It's like, okay, maybe just, okay, the guy doesn't hit the outer half as well. So I'm going to try to stick on the outer half, but if I'm missing the inner half, as long as I set it up, okay, it's fine. And then getting over with Snides, it's been fantastic. He's as good as everyone says he is, and then some. And it's just, he's like, trust your stuff. Your stuff is good enough to go out there and compete and to have success at this level, and throw to your strengths. Don't go throw 17 sliders in a row because a guy can't hit this lineup doesn't hit sliders, because that's not my MO. My MO is I'm going to pound heaters in the zone, and I'm going to force you to hit it and hit it early so that you can hopefully get your better one. And then I'm going to take your quick out. You're going to take my ground ball. I'm going to take my fly out, and then I'll go for my punch when I have the opportunity to go for the punch.
What's the goal for you this year?
Goal for me this year, I want to stay healthy, no more spider bites. Hopefully watch out for the line drives so I got my legs.
Do you know what kind of spider it was?
I don't. They didn't really do any like tests on it, but I'm gonna have to guess it was a brown recluse. I would have to.
One of my best friends got bit by a brown recluse, and he got bit in a unhappy area, and it was like he had to go to the hospital and everything. So I was like, bro, you got bit like what, in the knee or whatever? As long as it was the knee and not where my friend got bit, I'm like, Pep will be fine. I'll be fine.
I was okay. But stay healthy, try to make all 30 starts, and then 160 plus innings. Limit the walks, continue to keep the walk rate under 8, under 3 per 9, kind of, closer to 2, would be the ideal goal, shoot for a higher goal. Strikeouts, I don't care. If I get them, I get them. I just want to continue to go deeper into ball games, go get the 6th, get to the 7th up as many times, and try to get to the 8th or 9th if we can. Try to keep the pitch count down, get guys out within 3 pitches more.
Is that something that, I know we talk about that a lot. I know it's been an organizational thing of like not trying to have hitters see the pitcher 3 times. Is that something that you guys know going into the year? Like, hey, I got to pitch to contact more. I got to, because if there's long extended at bats, and you know what I mean? Like, is that something that is kind of ingrained in you guys to adjust how you focus on the entire season, not just start by start?
No, you don't want to think about that, because if you think about, okay, I'm not going 3 times through the lineup, then you're like, well, I'm only going to go out there for 4 or 5 innings every single time. So it's you kind of just have to think about it. All right, I'm just going to go and I'm going to attack every hitter. It doesn't matter. Whenever Cash comes out and takes the ball from me or shakes my hand in the dugout and says I'm done, like, I want to make sure it's leave the team in a good position to win the ball game. Hopefully when we're in the lead, or if we're not, then at least it's close. And then, just get guys out as fast as possible. And it's not necessarily just always like searching for contact. You're trying to search for early contact. And then once you get a guy, maybe 0-2, 1-2, then you take your shot at a punch. But then it's just trying to eliminate the 3-ball counts, eliminate the long at bats. Guys are going to foul stuff off. They're going to fight pitches off. And it's not necessarily trying to throw the more perfect pitch after that. It's just trying to throw, okay, so maybe I threw a slider off the edge and the guy just fouled it off. Perfect. I can attempt to go maybe a little bit further away and see if I can get a chase on this one, or I can groove a fastball right off that same line and blow it past him, or he hits a foul ball late or rolls it over for a ground ball, or try to bury a changeup in the dirt right off of it. Play that kind of a game. And it's not. I think for me as a younger player, and even I've had to focus on it too, is you try not to make the perfect pitch every time. You're just trying to make good pitches and execute pitches where it's like, okay, I want to hit the outer half. I'm not trying to hit just the low and outside corner, because if I hit that low and outside corner, awesome. But if I don't, then I want to still start with an 0-1 count, because the change in facing a guy when it's 0-1 to 1-0 is like a 50-point swing or something like that, batting average wise. I mean, it's probably more. I don't know the exact numbers, but there's a massive swing for the batting average and the on-base percentage when it gets from 0-1 to 1-0.
Yeah. I mentioned that. I actually called into the Rays postgame show when I first moved here, and I was talking about that, and the guy was like, they should always take a first pitch. And I was like, are you really saying that? Like, you shouldn't always take a first pitch, because if it's there, and you got to let it rip sometime because you're batting average. And they kept me on the radio for like 12 minutes. And I was like, man, maybe I should do this radio thing. That's pretty good.
But sometimes it is, you do get like, I want a guy to swing at first pitch, because I'm like, all right, sweet, first pitch out, I'll take it. Or you get one pitch and you're on first base or whatever. I'm like, okay, perfect. I can just do it again, maybe get a double play ball. But it's getting strike one is honest. Everyone's like, what's the most important strike? And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, strike 3. I'm like, no, you got to get strike 1 before you can get strike 3. And strike 1's the most important one. And then you go from there. And if you get strike 1 the first pitch, you're already 0-1. You're in a leverage count for yourself. Hitter's already a little bit on the defensive. And then you have so many more things in the bag that you can do, because then you can throw everything off of it. Because sometimes you have a breaking ball that's maybe not a strike pitch or something like that. Or you have something that you can throw off of it, or whatever it may be. But just getting that first pitch strike is just massive.
Got that right. Before I let you go, I want to ask you about the Lightning. You going to any games this week?
I know they play the Hurricane tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I might try to go to that one. But then I got Josh Lowe's wedding this weekend in Orlando, so I'm headed out.
Wow, Josh Lowe's wedding, man! You're the crashing weddings all month, all year, all postseason or off season.
This will be number 4 for me this offseason.
Wow, man!
Yeah.
You're at that age.
I had to say no to like 3 of them too. Like during
really?
Yeah. Well, it's like I'm that age, like 27.
Yeah.
A bunch of people getting married, and then also you play on a couple of different teams. You make a bunch of friends. Play in minor leagues. Play with a bunch of different guys. Go all over the place. When you're a baseball player, you have 2 months to get married, and so it's like every other weekend. And it's like you talk to any baseball player that's married, and you ask them what their anniversary is. I guarantee everyone is within like 5 days. Like I know people. I'm the 13th. I got buddies that are the 12th. I got people that are the 14th. Like I know somebody who's getting married on the 15th next year. I'm like, well, we're literally all in the same spot. And it's like, okay, well, anyone want to do an anniversary trip together so we can all go? Because we're all the same.
It makes a lot of sense. I don't know if anybody's really ever talked about that before, but it makes a lot of sense, right? You only got those 2 months after the season's over, and you're like, all right, let's get this rolling. So what is it, January, February, or December, January?
A lot of November.
November? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of November before like Thanksgiving, the holidays, and then early January, I'd say.
So November and January, those are the big wedding dates for baseball.
I would say
players.
anywhere between like the 1st of January to like the 15th, because then you get too close to spring training, and then it's like you can't really take a honeymoon trip after that because you got to kind of get locked in. And then you can't do anything in October really because playoffs. And then you get too close to holidays, then it's like maybe you can eliminate some people if you don't want a huge wedding. That might be benefit on somebody's, throwing out some ideas. So there's wedding planners out there listening, start planning those around there, keep those smaller weddings smaller. But yeah, I would say beginning of November till probably the 20th range. And then I would say early January, probably a handful to the majority of people.
Wedding Planner 1 with Jennifer Lopez, Wedding Planner 2, the sequel with Ryan Pepiot. I could see it on the matinees right now. Ryan Pepiot, Ray's right-hander, always a pleasure, my good friend. Happy holidays, happy New Year. I hope you and the family are well. Can't wait to, man, and I live in Tampa, man, so I'll definitely be at more games this year. I still didn't get word if they're going to give me another opportunity to throw the first pitch out. Probably not, but it's okay.
I scooped it. I'll be ready. If you got another one, I'm there.
You saved my bacon. It's funny because Steve Carney got the video, and it didn't look too bad. No. And that's the thing is I didn't bounce. See, that's what I was trying to tell people. I didn't bounce it like I short hopped it. I threw it wide of the plate, and you scooped it, so it didn't look too bad.
No.
But I don't know if I told you, but Denard Span, my good pal, he was doing the TV broadcast for the Twins because he does Twins and Rays, and he was videotaping the whole thing from the booth. And when he saw me throw it, he's like, "Oh, come on, Jay! I can't believe you bounced it." And yeah, it was. I let him down, so I appreciate you picking me up.
You had the whole get up going. You Hideo Nomo'd it. You did it all. You had the look. Now we'll just this next one. It's like when you're on the golf course and you hit a really crappy first shot, and then you hit the second ball and it's striped, and then the little second team All-American. So we'll get you a second team All-American shot at it, and it's probably gonna be right down the middle.
What's funny is the thing. It's not an excuse; it's a reason. It's because for me, I've always had trouble growing up. I always had trouble getting arm extension. I played second base, so everything was right here. I threw sidearm and everything. So I was working on warming up, get long, get that arm back. And then Raymond came over and was like, "Oh, let's throw." So first throw, I get my arm back and I throw it to him, and he just whiffs it. And I'm like, if I don't take something off, I'm gonna blast Raymond in his head. So I start just here. And then I get on the mound and I could feel right when I just went right here and I was like, oh, jeez.
Next time, just go sidearm. Just Kevin Kelly that thing.
Listen, so when I grew up, when I pitched a little bit in high school and I played in New York City and we played in the New York City League and I played against, remember Danny Almonte, the kid that lied about his age?
Yes.
So we played them. So he was 12 and I was 14. And it was just and then when we got older, so when I was 17, we played against Rolando Polino. And I gave up 4 runs before getting it out in the first inning. And I said, screw that. I'm throwing knuckleballs, I'm throwing sidearm, and I'm throwing Chad Bradford, underneath.
Yep. Oh, yeah, get down there.
And we ended up beating them 7-4, and I pitched 6 innings. And all I did was throw knuckleballs, sidearm, underhand. That's how it was. And I ended up playing in a men's league years later. My buddy Ryan, you ever hear the name Ryan Kibler?
Mm-mm.
He's the minor league pitching guy for the Rockies.
Okay.
And he pitched out in Tampa, and we played in the men's league together. And he was playing center field, and I was pitching, and all I hear him is laughing. And I'm like, "What the fuck are you laughing about, dude?" He's like, "I play baseball all over the world. I've never seen anybody pitch like you." I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I top out at 84, and I'm throwing sidearm for days." So I was like, if I can make Kib, who was 6'8", pitching in the Rocky system, laugh, So now
you're doing something right.
I know. I got to make people laugh, So sidearm, Kevin Kelly style. I might have to go out there and get some lessons from him. And yeah, then you'll wear the first baseman glove with the thumb guard.
Yeah,
Ryan,
maybe you'll toss in a little Kevin Kelly sweeper too,
That was always hard for me. For me, when I threw sidearm, I couldn't throw sweepers. Everything I threw 2-seamers sidearm.
Yeah.
Because everything just had, like you were talking about before, had that dive to it.
Yep.
So I would throw something that would maybe stayed a little bit straighter because it's just going to have that natural 2-seam movement. But
Kevin too is when he his cue on the side is kind of pulling up on it because he wants it to, since he's throwing from down here, it's not necessarily coming across in curveball. It's up. It's going up. So he'll throw it to me and he'll be like, "Oh, I didn't like that one." I was like, "I thought the movement was good." He was like, "Yeah, but it stayed straight and flat and went a little down." He goes, "I want it up," and I'm like, "Ooh."
It's almost like a frisbee kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. I mean, that's just another level.
And then you get one coming up this way and then one going down that way, and I'm like,
I don't know how there's certain times. Who was it? Chaz Rowe was with the Rays a couple years ago, and he was a bigger guy. I mean, Kevin's a smaller smaller guy. Chaz would just throw the ball, and he wasn't as pronounced as Kevin was when he dropped down, but that thing would just take off, man. It was like a flying saucer. I don't know how guys hit guys like that. Like it's you just get up there and pray.
Yeah, pretty much. And then also like the way people do it with like especially sweepers now, like that's the big fad in pitching is like if somebody throws one, a lot of times like it might pop out, so you can kind of see it like shoot out before it has to come back, and then you know it's going to be in the zone. But if it starts right on the plate, could run away. Like those are the ones that you got to like spit on, but then you got to hope it's not a two-seam coming right on the inside corner.
Right. Yeah, because if you're thinking, all right, it starts off, it's going to be on. If it starts on, it's going to be off. But then if they mix a fastball in, you're like, oh, wow, I just got froze by an 84-mile-an-hour fastball. Like,
honestly, like Kevin might be able to go out there and throw a sweeper because I'm pretty sure he starts the ball at like a right-hander's hip. He probably could throw a two-seamer at the guy and then end it up behind him and maybe get a swing, maybe.
Dude, that would be viral. Did you ever get a chance to hit in the big leagues?
Not in the big leagues. I got 4 at-bats in AAA. I got
How'd it go?
hit.
1 for 4. Do you wish that pitchers still hit?
Yes. I don't want to face anybody because everyone's really good and really disgusting and they throw really hard, but I liked the free out.
You're looking at it from the pitcher's point of view. I thought you want to get up there and take a hack.
And like the gamesmanship too. It's like a little different too because then you had to think about like, okay, we're going through a lineup and it's like third time's coming up and then the pitcher's on deck. Maybe have to take them out, and then you like there's a little bit of aspect of that that's lost, but I don't know. At the same time, it's like I don't have to go up there and hit. I don't have to practice hitting. I don't have to worry about maybe getting smoked every once in a while or going out there and looking dumb, which I'm going to do most of the time. But just the off chance of getting 1 homer in the big leagues,
that'd be awesome. Yeah,
I hit a 1-hopper off of the right field wall on my 1 hit.
Righty or lefty? You a righty hitter or lefty?
Righty hitter,
righty.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hit it right down the line in Albuquerque, New Mexico, 1 hop the wall, 106 off the bat, and I got a single.
You're like, oh, I got to run.
No, I literally the first pitch, somebody hit a homer before me because you're playing in Albuquerque, hit a fly ball, and pretty much goes out. And I was like, please get a hit and get like, or please don't hit in a double or hit in the double play or get out, or like do something so I don't have to bunt because I was like, I don't want to bunt. And the manager goes, hey, take the first pitch. And I'm up there, like, haven't hit since high school, like, did a little bit at college, but didn't hit any games, just like old practice. And then I'm like, I haven't seen 90-plus miles an hour really that many times.
Right.
And first pitch, 95 right down the middle. I'm like, little leg kick, and my foot gets down as the ball's in the catcher's glove. I'm like, I'm in trouble. And then next pitch, another heater, and I whacked it, and I hit it. And I'm telling you, when it came off the bat, it felt good. But I was like, I was probably so late. I probably shot that thing straight off the net, straight right. And then I just see it hit. And I'm like, kind of like a little jogging a little bit because I'm like, I don't know where this ball went. And I just see it bounce right off the wall. I'm like, oh my God, start running. And
those are those great swings where you're so late on it, but you're like, oh, I made solid contact, and then just stay straight. Like there's got to be some kind of like geometry to that.
Yeah. It wasn't one that was like a slicer where a righty hits one on the right field line. It was literally like I caught it on the outside corner and just shot it that way.
That's amazing. So you hit as a high school player?
Yeah, I played shortstop and third and first.
At what point did you know, like, I'm just gonna go with the glove?
When I got recruited in college, I was gonna DH and pitch, and then my coach in college got fired right before I went into school. And then when he left, the new coach was like, "You're just pitching." And then my sophomore year, we started fielding like 840 at third base. And they're like, who wants to play third base? And I'm like, me. Wow. And then they're like, all right, let's see what you can do. Like in batting practice, I'm just hitting nukes and just out there swinging for the fences. Because I could hit it, but just like that was batting practice. And then I never got into any games. So, in midweeks, I'd like take batting practice and maybe I got on deck like twice. And then the game would get too close and they're like, yeah, you're not playing. And then I was pitching well and they're like, yeah, you're just going to pitch. Sorry.
Isn't it crazy how it like takes off? Like you're both, and you're like, oh, maybe this, and then all of a sudden, like you don't do one for like 6 months or something, then you just stay with the other, and you're like, yeah, you just never end up going back.
Exactly. Well, for me, it was like I was a football player, played the basketball, and then didn't pitch only until I got into college. And so like taking away football, baseball was my only focus. Really got to like develop and play into it, and then only pitching too. Really just was able to hone in on everything.
Well, we're glad you did, and we're glad that you're here in the Tampa Bay area. Appreciate you, my brother. Follow him, Ryan Pepiot, all social media platforms, and of course, go on out to the games this year as the Rays play on this side of the bridge at Steinbrenner Field. Pep, appreciate it, man. Give my love to the better half, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Will do. Thank you very much. Talk soon.
All right, pal. See you, buddy.